Good morning and welcome back to another Westies Angling. I tell you what folks, I wish I had a pound for every time somebody asked me when I'm coming dead baiting for pike this year. Well, for those people, today is the day. I've come down to a canal marina today and we're going to do a little bit of dead baiting. You'll have to forgive me if my voice is a bit funny. I went to the hospital this week and had a camera down my throat, which, let me tell you, is not a pleasant experience, and I've actually got damaged vocal cords, so I should actually be resting really, but I thought I can't not go fishing this week, so I've come down here for a morning today on the canal and just going to put a couple of dead baits out. My dad's already here, he's already set up. I'll run you through the setup very quickly and stuff like that. Look folks, there's YouTubers out there that are much better at pike and predator fishing than me, so whether you want to take my advice or not, I'll leave that up to you. But let's get into the video, let's get some smelt out there and see if we can get anything this morning. So I am traveling ultra light today. I've literally got my landing net, I've got a backpack, a small backpack with me, a couple of bite alarms and my Corum Opportunist X-Stem rods. So that's literally all I've got with me. Looks like my dad's not even brought his bite alarms. He's just going to lay them there, and obviously he's fishing pike floats and he's already got his dead baits out and he's got a little setup here. So on my end it's going to be a really simple setup. I'll talk you through it, and when my dad brings his baits in, I'll talk you through his setup as well. I think the only thing that we're doing different is I'm going to be fishing one bait popped up, and my dad is fishing on single hooks. I'm going to be fishing on barbless trebles. Also, what I'm going to be using today is my new Fox Mini Microns. So I'm excited to give these a go. Little flip switch, brings them on. Obviously my dad's fishing on the left there, I'll fish here on the right. Probably want them quite sensitive today, but I'm just gonna jam one in there. Really, when you're dead baiting and you've got a really loose drag, you want to be facing your rod towards where you're fishing, but got limited space here. Obviously there's going to be cyclists and the public coming past here. That's one of the problems with fishing on the canal, but part of it. Let's put these caps safe so I don't lose them. So one there and one here, I think, folks. Check that's on. Yeah. And another important thing that I'm going to do while I'm getting set up, I'm just going to take the weights out of these bobbins so they're as light as possible and providing the least resistance. And I'm going to have the bobbin on the deck, or as low down as I can anyway. So that's the weight out of them high reese bobbins. We'll put them somewhere safe as well, because I will lose these things. Oh. That's a net. What else do we need? I've got everything that I'm going to need for today with me in this bag. So while it's quiet, I'm going to run you through what I've brought. So I've got some pre-tied trebles because I really can't be bothered tying my own trebles up. These are 3-inch. We're probably going to be fishing with smaller hook baits today. Just whatever my dad managed to pick up from Copper Anglers yesterday. And I've also got some of these dead bait sticks which help pop the dead baits up. So I'm going to use the 2 smallest sizes. So I'm going to have probably one popped up a little bit more than the other, which is fine. And we'll see which does better through the day, if any. So that's what I've bought. I think they're balsa wood and literally just spike them into the bait, and I'll show you how I'm going to attach them to the wire traces. I've got some 1mm thick fluorocarbon, so a pike could really struggle to bite through that. 1mm thick, so I'm going to be using that to attach the balsa wood inserts for the baits. I'm going to be using a fairly heavy lead. I've got 3-ounce leads there because 1, it's going to pin it to the deck, and 2, it's going to provide the least running resistance. You're not going to have a lead bouncing about on the bottom. So fairly heavy leads. I've got some float stops, and I've got 2 pike floats. What else have I got? I've got some of my bolt and run kits, but obviously we're just going to be using them in the full running setting, so I'm not going to put these little rubber beads on. We're just going to set them up as running rigs. So let's put them there, but that's everything that we're going to need all laid out in front of me. Let's get the rods together. It's also advisable to fish a heavy braid when dead baiting rather than mono mainline like I'm using today, but I'll literally just pick these reels up. But this is strong 20-pound mainline, so I should be able to get any rigs back should I need to. I don't think there's many snags around this marina because I've fished here with the lures, so I wouldn't know if there were any major snags because my lures tend to find the snags first. So let's get this set up nice and easy. I'm going to get my float stops. These are a medium float stop. Slide one of those on because we need to adjust the depth of our pike float, and I'm hoping that these float stops are big enough. They should be. Obviously I'm going to take all my rubbish with me for those people that are concerned about that. Pike float on with the fluorescent end first. Then I'm going to put a running ring. These are really smooth and they'll help the line slide up and down the run ring, so we'll put one of those on, and we can also change leads quicker using those. So one of those on, and then one of my bolt and run kits, which is obviously what the size 8 swivel on the trace goes into. And then we need to tie one of our traces on. If I can get it out of the bag. Might have to rip this. Oops. So where have I got these traces from? I know people will ask. Pikeology. Just got mine on eBay. Much easier than tying your own up for beginners out there. Don't bother. Easier just to buy them. Oh, my throat. So tie this on with a strong knot. Pass the trebles through and the trace. Wet that. Test that knot strength. Trim our tag end. Then I'm going to pull that swivel into the bolt and run kit. We're going to put our lead on. Running you through this very quickly, I understand that, and it's not fully light yet, so I'm hoping you can see everything that I'm doing. I'm sure you can. So as you can see, we've got our float stop, we've got our pike float, which is going to pop up against that. Then we've got our smooth running ring, which is going to move up and down the line. Then we've got our bolt and run bead, and then we've got the pike trace, which has got one barbed hook and two barbless. Obviously the barbed hook goes into the dead bait, and the barbless is what you're going to hook the pike with, hopefully, if there's any about. But most complicated part is going to be tying on these balsa wood pop-ups. So I'm just going to take some of this incredibly thick fluorocarbon. I'm going to tie it onto the line with a simple granny knot. I've just knotted that on that side. Doesn't need to be a strong knot because it's not really providing any kind of resistance. And I'm going to get the smallest of these pop-up wood inserts, and I'm going to tie this on. Let's have a see. So if you can imagine, that's going to be inserted into the dead bait like that. So we need a bit of movement there. See if we can tie this on. Really hard to tie this stuff because it's a thick material. You'd be better crimping it really, but making do with what I've got. So I'm just going to do 2 passes through this loop, and I think that'll be strong enough. There we go. That's that tied on. That'll be more than strong enough for what we need it to do. So what we're going to do now is take a dead bait, and I'm going to push this into the dead bait. But what I want to do first is just check the depth of my float and make sure that I'm happy with that before I put a dead bait on. Then we're going to cut the head off the dead bait, stick that into it, and put our trebles on, and should be good to go there. We can get that rig out. So Dad reckons it's about 3'6", 4 foot, so let's put it up a bit. Is it pretty consistent? Let's see where we're at there. Right, we want to be a bit deeper. On him. So you want it just flat on the surface or just cocked, and then you can see when you get a take, the float will straighten and then go under, but you'll usually see the movement on the water first. So there we go, that's that pretty much set up. We'll get a dead bait on. Oh, where's the dead bait, Dad?
In that plastic bag, Matt. There's roach and there's smelt.
I'm going to go with the smelt.
2 different sizes.
Yeah, those smelt are okay, so that's just, yeah, they're the smelt.
There's smelt.
Is there a smelt open?
No, I don't think so.
It's alright.
There's some bigger smelt.
No, these are alright. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut the head off this smelt. Then I'm going to insert the balsa wood pop-up float. Into the bait as far as it'll go. There we go. Then I'm going to find the barb on the hook. Put that into the bait there. Yeah, probably just a little bit too short, this dead bait, folks, but it'll be alright. Can just about get both hooks in, and then one into the tail there, and that's the setup. And there's no way a pike is biting through this 1mm thick fluorocarbon. So if I do get any issues with that today, I will let you know, but that's what's recommended for pike if you're using fluorocarbon, 1mm thick. So let's get this out. It's only a short chuck. Ah! Good job it's not barbed, folks. Loads of guts coming out of that smelt. Cheers, Dad. I get guts all over my rod. And then I'm going to try and get it close to these bolts without hooking one of these mallards. That'll do us. And then obviously I'm going to put this here. I am probably going to take my bail arm off. Like I said, ideally you want to be pointing it directly at your float. Where's my float gone? It's just under water. Then we're going to put our really light bobbin on. I'm going to pull the line out until that bobbin is sat on the floor, loose. And that's just going to provide a touch of resistance there. If we get a pike, but that's that one fishing. Simple enough. I think the hardest bit is tying that 1mm fluorocarbon for this little setup. But I think we're going to be all right with this other balsa float here. I think it's balsa wood. There'll be balsa wood, won't there?
I would have thought so.
I keep calling it balsa wood. I'm not 100%. Yeah, I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, there's balsa wood.
What's actually, thinking about it, folks, this is the first time I've used this kind of setup. Thinking about it, it's probably easier if you tie one side on the float first and then tie it to the rig. And there we go. We can bury pretty much all of that in the bait. You want as little of this fluorocarbon showing, because obviously that's, you're going to have the least chance of it getting bitten. Got to watch out for wildfowl and boats. Keep your eye open for them. Because if a barge come along here now, I'd have to reel in because my line's arcing down. And so will my dad, to be honest. Well, there you go. That's another rig ready to go. Let's get this one tied up and out. Look, folks, even if we don't catch this morning, the methods are still sound. And I always post the videos even if I don't catch, because a lot of you like to see the struggle, as it were. I believe it's not absolutely jam-packed with pike, this marina, but the ones that are in here tend to be a decent size from what I've been told. Right, let's get the bigger smelt. To catch a big fish, folks, you need to use a big bait. Look at the size of these smelt. Huge.
Very soft out this smelt.
Yeah, they are. Well, this one isn't because it's frozen solid, Dad.
It's frozen that.
Again, we're going to insert that was a definite pull then, folks. Just watching the float. Can't feel anything pulling on it. Had a definite bite then, folks. I missed it. I probably didn't leave it quite long enough, but good sign. Let's get it back out. I'm struggling to get my left hand float to settle because I think it's a bit deeper there, further out into the marina. Not much, probably about half a foot, but obviously that's where I got that bite, or near enough where I got that bite before, so hopefully that pike's still in the area, but you don't know whether it was a small jack or whatever. There's a bit of wind on today. I just needed a bit more of an angle so I could have less line in the water. So I've done a bit of Ray Mears in and made myself a rear bank stick. Yeah. Well, we're shaping wooden today. My dad's just missed the bite as well, but he is fishing single hooks. Also had a bite there as well. It's gone slack. But it's strange that we would just both have two bites in quick succession when we've had nothing for probably the last hour and a half. Promising, folks. We just, for some reason, not managed to hook into the bites that we've had today. Well, I'll show you my dad's setup. So he's got a stopper bead there, his pike float, the sinker and lead, and then he's got a trace there of about a foot, and then he's got a circle hook there, really simple, and that's what he's just had a bite on. He's not managed to hook into it. Believe me when I say, folks, it is freezing and that wind is just cutting through us. It's quite open here, so we're just getting a full brunt of the wind, unfortunately. Look, folks, it might be a blanking session today, but you've got to get out, you've got to give it a go. I don't think there's anything wrong with the techniques and methods that we're using today, and I'm confident in telling everybody that. But as I've said to you, in terms of dead baiting, there is definitely channels out there that are probably better to listen to in terms of dead baiting and predator fishing advice. Not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, so take everything I've told you with a pinch of salt, but hopefully you've picked up a couple of tips and you'll come out and give it a go yourself. Obviously lure fishing, dead baiting, it's not something that I'm going to be doing all the time on the channel, folks. So I love all kinds of fishing, but I definitely don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy feeder fishing and stuff like that. So that's why I just throw it in every now and again. And I know that you guys have been really wanting me to get out and do some dead baiting, so here we go. And I'm sorry that we've not had any fish as of yet, but still out here, still trying for you. Oh, in horrendous conditions. There's a boat coming, folks, we'll have to reel in. She weren't hanging about then, Jesus. Weren't hanging about there, were they? It's mad that, because they were coming up really, really slowly in the boat, deaving about, and then they picked up speed. Well, folks, these horrible sporadic gusts of wind are not easing up whatsoever, and it's making it really difficult to fish with the pike floats. They're getting dragged under every 2 seconds. So I'm going to get myself home, get warm, give my vocal cords a rest, and hopefully on the next session I'll be back out on the river, which is something that I'm really excited for. It's been a few weeks since I've been out on the river. I'm not sure whether I'm going to be trotting or whether I'm going to be feeder fishing. I'll decide depending on the conditions. But I just want to say thanks very much for watching. Again, I'm sorry that we didn't catch, and I'll see you in the next Westies Angling. Don't forget to subscribe, like, all that good stuff. You know the dance. See you next time, folks.